And welcome back, students. You'll remember last time we were talking about Louisiana, and specifically New Orleans and their unique music that they have there. Let's switch to satellite so we can take a look. But some of you may not have known this, but the United States was not always owned by the United States. In fact, it was owned by a few different countries in Europe, because during this time, the colonial era, uh, many countries in Europe were sailing across the ocean and setting up colonies in different parts of North, Central America, and South America. And basically laying claim to parts that where people already owned, but that's something we can get into later. That's a big, long one. So, for the most part, we know that England, nowadays, it's called the United Kingdom because it's there is Scotland and England and Northern Ireland a part of it. Owned the 13 colonies, set up their colonies right along the coast, but there are huge parts of the United States that were owned by the French. And let's find France over here. So here's the United Kingdom, here's France. France actually owned, at the time, Louisiana. And it wasn't until the Louisiana Purchase, made in the early 1800s, that the United States, now that gotten its independence from England, not a part of England anymore, but its own country, bought Louisiana and a bunch of other states. We can see the Louisiana Purchase right here. How much was bought? Even parts of Canada nowadays were in there. So you can see this big, humongous swath of land was bought from Napoleon during the Louisiana Purchase, including Louisiana. In fact, I said it was French. Louisiana was named after the French king at the time. I think it was Louis the 14th. Sorry if I got that wrong. So we learned last time, we heard some of that early jazz music. Jazz is like United States big export, what we're known for in the music community. And New Orleans was kind of the birthplace of jazz. And we talked about the beginnings, but let's now talk about what kind of music is coming out of New Orleans these days. What happened with those brass bands we talked about? We talked last time, this is kind of an example of what it would have looked like back in the day. But let's take a look at what modern brass bands look like. They drew influences over the years from metal music, from rap, hip hop, and even the pop world. Pop music being like what's popular, what you'd hear on the radio. Let's see one of these modern brass bands, Youngblood Brass Band, playing a song called Camouflage.
We got the hi-hat. We can rock it. The boogie woogie boogie woogie.
take a look, you're going to notice that it's almost the same instrumentation. Instrumentation is what instruments play in a band as what we saw before, right? Trombone, saxophone, trumpets, all normal things in a brass band. We have like three percussionists in the back, kind of making up the drum set and playing different parts. And of course, we have a sousaphone playing all the bass because you need bass in a song. Every band has some kind of bass instrument. So now we're going to go into, they just played the whole melody, the whole song. Now they're going to improvise. Remember we talked about last time, they make up a song on the spot. The bass line instrument, the tuba, is going to keep playing, and all the drummers are going to keep playing. And some of these other instruments may play backgrounds, but now it's all about one person at a time. They get to play and improvise and take a solo. Let's hear some improvising. Whoa, quite a bit different from what we heard with traditional music, right? Traditional jazz. To nowadays. Ooh. Why don't we take a look at another artist? This is probably the most famous musician coming out of New Orleans right now. He's well known. His name is, or his music name is Trombone Shorty because he plays the trombone, but he also plays a lot of trumpet too. He's a brass player. Remember, those are both brass instruments. And that's him right there. why don't we take a pause again because he's going to start improvising just like we did before. They went through the whole melody, so now it's time to get into improvising so the individual musicians can kind of show off a little bit. Let's look at the instruments. So we've got a guitar player for playing the harmonies and keeping rhythm, kind of like the drummers we have in the back, all keep rhythm as well. We have a drum set player, like playing congas back here, and the guitar kind of work together to keep rhythm happening and rolling, and he also provides harmony. We'll talk about harmony in a little bit. We have our bass player right here. So it looks like a guitar, right? That's because it's a bass guitar. It's a very low sounding guitar, and that's our bass. And then we have our wind players, which are the melody people. They play the main parts. We have our bari sax, that's that big huge saxophone, our tenor sax, and of course a trumpet. So if you're in a band like this, I wonder what you would want to play. I always like hearing about what everybody would want to play. Let's hear some improvisation. Alright, I'm looking at the time. I better move to our next section, otherwise this video is going to get too long. I just love this music so much, so I want to share it with you guys. So, let's move to our next section.
Hey students, I've got band practice today, so I figured this week maybe you guys could come with me to band practice. I play in a New Orleans brass band, which is exactly what we're learning about right now. So, I've got my instruments loaded. Why don't we head to practice and you can meet some of the players.
Hey, how diddly do there, young musicians. This is Mr. Rogers from the Sonora Elementary Bobcat Band. I'm the tuba player in the Lucky Cousin Brass Band, which means I play the bass lines for our group. So let me give you an example of what that might sound like. Here we go.
I'm Gordon Geet. I play with Lucky Cousin Brass Band. I play soprano saxophone and baritone saxophone. So I play the melody and the harmony. That's the soprano. Gotta change the strap.
I'm Duncan McFarland. I play the trombone in the brass band, which means I play a lot of melody and some of the harmony. It sounds like this. So I also play sometimes the flute, just to give it something a little different.
Hi, little Falcons. My name's John. I teach at Sonora High. I play the trumpet, so that means I play the melody, which is often very loud and very high. I'm gonna play a little bit for you right now.
I'm Tobin Denton. I teach drums at Sonora High School. I play drums in the Lucky Cousin Brass Band. Bass drum, snare drum, and cymbals is all I need for this one.
And I'm Mr. Dooley, your music teacher. I play the alto and the tenor sax, so I play the harmony and the melody. And I play the tenor over here, which you saw in the last video. It's the bigger one, and it sounds a little bit lower. And it sounds a little something like this. traditional New Orleans song for you. It's Bourbon Street. One, two, ready, we're going to talk about layers in music, because music has layers and it makes it more interesting. So I'm going to play the melody. The melody of this next song is from Tetris, a video game. It's an old game, probably only us know it. I don't know if you guys have played Tetris before, but here's what the melody to Tetris sounds like. And now I'm going to play the harmony, which is not the melody, but it adds another layer to the melody to make it sound more interesting. Here's what the harmony sounds like. And now I'm going to get some parts, some friends to help me out with this. Yeah. Let's hear the melody and the harmony together. Ready? We're going to play B. B to C. 1, 2, B to C, ready? Now we're going to add another layer. We're going to add our bass line, which is Mr. Rogers over here on the tuba. So same thing, we're going to go B to C. Adding the bass line, here's another layer, now 3 layers. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready? And now we're going to add our last layer, our 4th layer, our drums over here with Mr. Denton. We're going to have all the layers. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready? Now why don't we play the whole song for you? You're going to notice the beginning and the end is just the melody, and when we come in, everybody, it comes in with the harmony, the bass line, and the drums. So let's play the whole thing. Here we go. 1, 2, beginning, 2, ready?
back, guys. I hope you learned something with that last field trip, I should say, over to band practice. Let's see one last group. This is one of my favorite groups. They're called Lucky Chops. They're in New York, but they are a New Orleans style brass band, just like how we live in California, but we were a New Orleans style brass band too. Let's take a look. anyways, lot to talk about, lots of cool artists. Love talking about this. Hope you enjoyed it too. That was the end. That was part 2 of New Orleans. And we will come upon something different next week. Instead of looking at some world music, we're going to do a little bit of art. I'll see you guys for the next one.